Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And today I'm very happy to have another local entrepreneur from Montreal, Mr. Marc Adam, on the podcast. Marc, thank you so much for being a guest.
Hi, Phil. Thanks for having me today.
So, Marc, I know a little bit about you. We talked before the show jumped, but how about you give an introduction to my audience? Let us know a bit about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely, Phil. So Marc Adam, I'm the founder and CEO of Nixa. We are a web development firm headquartered in Montreal, Canada. I'm also a business intelligence expert and a productivity enthusiast. So at Nixa, we specialize in complex and custom website, web and mobile application and software. We're a service company, so we service companies that want to build these products. And last year, we won Best Web Development Company in Canada. And right now, we're aiming for Best in North America within 5 years.
Nice. That's a very big goal and easily achievable if you're already ranking number one in Montreal. And that. So what I want to go back to your beginnings. Like, what made you want to be an entrepreneur? Like, what was there a driving force? Was there something that just like sparked in your early years, or how long have you been an entrepreneur?
Well, I come from a very modest background, I will say. So if I wanted to have any money, I had to work for it. So I kind of always knew I will be an entrepreneur, Phil. My first company, I was 12 years old. I was building websites already. I had a landscaping company on the side as well. And after that, it was just one business venture after the other until we launched Nixa back in 2012. And programming started with me when I was at elementary school. I was in a special program. I was the only student in that program, actually. The government wanted to know if we could teach programming to kids. And then they wanted to know, can that kid teach another kid? And do kids have not only capabilities to learn programming, but being able to teach it back to other kids? And it worked. I was 11 years old. The other kids was 6. And we were both able to program at the end of the year at different levels, of course. But still a good entry door, I will say, to the digital world. We are in 2000 right now, right? So it started for me with PHP. I was doing Flash for website as well. And at the time, I had the world's largest webcam repertory in the world. And I was generating some advertising revenues. And with that money, I printed business cards, flyers that I was giving in the neighborhood for the landscaping company. So for me, it was always about diversification, right? About generating some cash flow, but working for myself, that's for sure.
Jeez, already at a young age, you've already accomplished more than I think most people have up until this point. So at the age of 11, 12, you were learning programming.
Yes.
Code, and you were coding websites, coding Flash, on top of running a landscaping business.
Yes.
You do set the bar very high for yourself, don't you?
Well, yeah, I think I had good example. My father was an entrepreneur. I didn't grow up with him, but he was an entrepreneur anyway. I did not take over his business. It was a car dealership, very far from what I'm doing right now. But I think if you set good example around kids, right, they're gonna want to walk the path. And I think that's what happened in my case. I just knew, I always knew that I will be an entrepreneur someday.
From an early age, it seemed like it as well, with both running two businesses and learning to code. When you launched Nixa, what was your goal? Did you know that you wanted to be the very best in North America, or was it just I just want to help businesses?
Actually, I wanted to be the best in the world. Just that, Phil. We say aim for the moon, shoot for the star, right?
Yeah.
So I think we became the best in Canada because we wanted to be the best in the world. Canada just happened. We weren't aiming for it. And most companies are delivering low-end platforms. they're mainly working on WordPress and stuff like that. And when we started, we did our study market, and what we realized is that quality was very low, and companies were not transparent. So if I tell you it's going to cost you $50,000 for your website, you don't know what you're paying for. You don't know exactly what's involved in that
Mhm.
budget. So we decided to do things differently, being very transparent. We charge per the minute. We don't round up hours. Our clients have access to BI tools, BI reports in real time, where they can see the progress of their project. They can see the amount of minute work on every task in a very transparent way. And that's basically how we manage to create our place in a very, very crowded market. So as you know, there's hundreds of web development
Yeah.
companies around the world, if not thousands, but most of them are working on small projects. Like I said, low-end platforms such as WordPress or Drupal, but nobody's really taking care of complex custom needs for these companies, right? So we took that niche market and we tried to do better than anybody else, and it kind of worked. So instead of focusing on platforms, we decided to become expert in the programming language under these platforms. So when we speak with a client, we're able to propose the best for their needs, not necessarily the best because that's the only product that we support, right? So we try to do things differently. And because of that, right now we have a fantastic reputation, which brings a lot of new clients as well.
Yeah, and it touches upon something. You made your niche. You're like, we're not just going to be another web developer. We're not going to do what everybody else is doing. We're going to go one step lower. We're going to get into the dirt of the matter, get our hands dirty, learn this language so that we can then give them even better quality websites, better quality conversions, because the website is your home on the internet. So
It
you
is.
you you defined your niche, which is something that I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs think of doing when they first jump into the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's not just about the quality of the product you're delivering, but it's also the quality of your processes, the quality of your internal training for your staff, right? So at Nixa, unfortunately, we don't hire a lot of junior people, right? We tend to hire more senior developers, which give us the capability of delivering high quality code on time. And we built our reputation on the on time delivery. Most of the companies in IT will deliver twice as the budget, four times the timeline. So that's a joke in the industry, but Nixa, we actually deliver on time, Phil, and it makes all the difference in the world. We're not the cheapest.
No, and obviously it's proven that your reputation, it does count, because you did become number one in Canada. Like, you don't become number one in Canada unless you have a great reputation for delivering high valued content or products to your clients. And like you said, perfection costs money, or close to perfection costs money. And when you want to be playing with those big boys, you have to be able to pay it. And it's the same thing for anything
Absolutely.
when you want that quality, because everything is available online. You can find out everything online and do it yourself, but the quality, will it be that good? And that's when you pay for the expertise that you guys bring. Um, Now, I'm on your website, and it says that you do apps, SaaS, and real web development. So obviously, we've been talking about the web development. Let's touch on like the apps and the SaaS, which is software as a service, which is pretty much a new revenue stream that's been, since the internet's been developed, is coming up. And I don't think a lot of everyday people know about SaaS, because they don't realize they use it, but they don't know what it is. So how did you guys start getting into that world?
Yeah, correct. So for our auditors, software as a service is a software that you're paying through a membership every month, right? And that gives you access of using that particular tool. In a sense, Netflix could be seen as a software as a service. It's a very simplified way to do it, to see it, but I think it's the simplest example for your auditors. So we got into the business because we were at the right place at the right moment, right? Because for us, building a website or building a web app or a software as a service at the end is programming. That's why we don't focus on certain industries. We can serve many industries. So we were in the market at the right moment because all these legacy software that were desktop based, all these companies that had software knew that cloud was coming and
Mhm.
people wanted to have access to their software anywhere without installing on their machine. without having cybersecurity capabilities on their machine or within the organization. And the software companies didn't have choice but to build a cloud version of their own software. And that's basically when SaaS was booming, because all these legacy software needed to be redone using JavaScript and other web technologies. And we were there, we had the expertise, and everybody were actually focusing on e-commerce and retail. And we decided to focus on transactional, yes, so you can still pay your SaaS with your credit card, but we don't focus on retail at all. We actually focus on software as a service. So I will say a lot of luck, but also a lot of investment in research and development to get to the level where we at right now.
Yeah, and it's like you said, since you guys focused on the programming languages of the websites, when we were getting SaaS, we're like, well, we already know JavaScript. We have a whole bunch of people here who are fantastic on it. So you're able to go, okay, just figure this out because it's a little easier. It's not luck. That's well done preparation and investing in your staff, like you said. Um, what else is next for you? Like this, you're obviously the founder, you're running Nixon. It's been over close, we're almost here, you're coming into a decade running this amazing company. Do you have sights set on something else? Is there another goal that you're looking for?
Right. It's all about diversification in business, right? So we've seen COVID, and COVID hit hard. It hit hard. Many industries, including technology. So technology sector was booming during COVID, and we double our size too. But the truth is that business is always roller coasters. So you have to find other revenue stream that you can integrate in your portfolio. So I started investing in startups and investing in other tech companies. So right now I have a portfolio of 9 companies. Some of them are in telemedicine. Some of them are in pharma, so online drug delivery service at home. So we invested in Oro, we invested in Medzi. We're going to connect both together, right? So you can basically get your diagnosis, and 1 hour after it knock on your door, and it's actually your meds for your condition. I also purchased restostaff.ca, which is the largest job board platform for restaurants in Quebec. Of course, COVID was very difficult, but when I bought the company, because of my capabilities, we actually replaced all employees with robots. So we're running this company with 0 employees, right? Help a lot when you have a drop of 95% of your revenue. Now it's coming up. There's a shortage of workforce in the industry. So I think because of our market share, we're going to go do well, but we'll see how it goes in the next month. And then other sort of companies. So we do 3D mapping at Prévu 3D. So it's going to be very useful for the metaverse because we launch drones and we can basically map buildings in 3D, pixel perfect. So these kind of companies that maybe won't pay off tomorrow, but it will pay off at some point, Phil. And diversification, we're looking to acquire 150 doors right now in Quebec. So that's the real estate part of it. So my advice will be diversify yourself. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. Mm-hmm. But my employer is Nixa, so most of my time is actually spent working on the company.
Okay, yeah, I know, and it's wise being diversified and bringing your knowledge from Nixa over to the other companies, able to connect them. Like you said, you have the diagnosis on one side and the delivery. There's a missing link there. You guys can provide that missing link, create a synergy that helps everybody involved, because the end result, people get their medicine much quicker and they don't have to worry about it. And if they're limited mobility, we have the ability to serve them and get them heard. I want to know, apart from the diversifying your income streams, for someone looking to start in the web development business like you did, what would be a tip you would have for them if they're looking to start their maybe an agency or start their journey to owning the best in Canada or best in the world agency?
Right. It's a competitive market, right? So my first advice will be to do a strong market research and try to fill some gaps where you see there's gaps, right? So if you want to start a web development company and you want to offer WordPress development, Maybe not such a good idea because this is basically where the masses are, right? This is where everybody's throwing themselves, right? So maybe find the niche where you can get in, and probably that subcontracting for other agencies is the best bet. So when Nick's a launch, we weren't targeting clients directly. I think it will have been a suicide. So what we did, we actually contacted all the agencies and we started subcontracting for these agencies, and that was great because not only did we add the business volume, but we also had access to all these crazy projects that nobody will have give us because we had no reputation back then, right? But more than that, it's because we were serving all these big agencies, and I won't name drop, but you know them all. Well, we knew what were their weaknesses and their strength, and we knew we were their clients and what who was working for them. So when I decided to attack the market directly, I had a perfect understanding of my market, and that's my second advice. Um, First, search for your market, but after that, if you want to dominate it, you need to know it very well because you cannot innovate in the market if you don't know your market well, right? So it's all about knowledge. It's all about taking notes, learn from the best, and after that, don't copy their processes. Invent your own, and invest. Because if you are in front of the market, if you're the market leader, it's not going to take a lot of time that you're going to be catch up, right? So at Nixa, we invest 15% of all our revenue. I'm not talking about profit. I'm talking about revenue in research and development, and it's not enough. We're going to have to increase that to 20%. So if you want to invest 20% of your revenue in research and development, you need to have high profit margin to be able to afford it. It's very,
Yeah.
very important. If you're doing it just out of passion, you're gonna grow to a certain level, uh, but it's gonna be hard basically to take more market shares, right? So surround yourself with people that know coding. If you're not a programmer yourself, if you're a programmer, surround yourself with salesmen because it's all about sales at the end of the day. You can have the best web development company in the world, the best employees. But if you don't sell, you're gonna die.
It's true. Yeah. It's yeah, I'm reading something by Dan Kennedy, the magnetic marketing, and he's like, if you could be the best in the world, but if you can't get in front of your audience, you're useless. So it takes a salesman to get your product in front of people because they know how to do it. Um, Dang, those were some really great tips, Mark. Uh, I do want, since you've been an entrepreneur since about 11 years old, or probably even younger, and come from a lineage of entrepreneurs, what has been your favorite moment in your entrepreneurial journey? A moment that you're like, whenever you're like getting stuck or you're feeling low, this is a memory that just pumps you back up and you're ready to go for those hard days.
Yeah, I will say that my biggest sales are always a blast, right? So I will say my first $100,000 sales is a very, very exciting moment, Phil, right? But the growth also come with the pressure of always closing. So unfortunately, today, if I close 100, 200, even $500,000, I can't open the champagne yet because now I have to deliver. So I'm not just in a sales business. It's like a factory, right? So even if I sell, I still have to produce, right? So we don't really celebrate the sales like we did before. I will say right now, my real pay, Phil, is when my employees, my staff, my team members tells me that they're happy and they love their job. We are in the industry where the turnover is very high. Turnover is high everywhere right now with the
Hmm.
new generation, but it's even true with my industry. So when some of my team members celebrate their fourth 5 years in my business, and they tell me that Mark, it's the best job I ever had. I love my colleagues. I love my job. I'm excited to come at the office in the morning or even open my computer if they're remote working. That's my real pay, Phil. And today I can say that money is not the final goal. Money is just a game. It's a tool to be able to invest in your growth, but the real pay is the happiness of my team members.
I love it. I love it. And that's honestly a true leader right there. Like saying that, like hearing your audience, hearing your employees say like, this is, I want to come into work today because I enjoy my job regardless of the stressors that come with every job. It's like, I love coming here because everybody's here working together to make it the best place to be, and that is so important.
Yeah.
Coming from a corporate world where it was very regulated and not, and it was rare you ever heard anybody inside the corporate world say, "Oh, I love my job." So knowing that some industries, some companies actually can have that, that's an amazing, and hats off to you for building a culture like that inside your company.
Thank you, Phil. Culture is very important because, as you said, I'm competing against corporate, right? Banks, for example, in Canada can afford to pay 35% more salaries than I do. I have to offer my team members something else. I have to give them an experience. I have to make them believe in what we're building, and they have to believe that they're working on something that is bigger than themselves, bigger than the company. And we're actually starting a movement because we are building wells right now in Africa, and we show the staff that it's because of their work that we're actually providing access to clean water to hundreds, if not thousands, of people in Africa. So on top of the technology that we're building and all the good that we're doing by working on these projects, we're actually contributing to the society. And I think it's part of the culture that we're currently building. We're not just working to punch 9 to 5, get our 100 grand salary and finish the year with our tax slip. No, we're actually working on building something bigger than us. And it's part of the culture. And the culture is also based on a lot of respect. So I never do conflict management in my company. Nobody's ever fighting. And that just comes naturally in the company culture. People are very polite, very appreciative of the help and training that they receive from each other. So building a culture is important. But to be frank with you, Phil, with the growth, I'm not building that culture. They are. They are building that great culture, and I'm just part of it.
I love that. Again, you're being humble because it does take, you had to start the culture. You had to start how you wanted it, because you could have came in and been like, it's a hard ass and it's a 9 to 5 like the corporate world and run it like that. But you're like, no, I trust my employees. I'm paying them to do their job. They're adults. They can handle it. Like you said, you don't do conflict management because you're treating them like adults. They're
Yeah.
not children that have to be handheld. You're like, look, you're grown adults. Let's work together to make this the best thing, because the payoff is saving lives in Africa, because that well that right now is serving 100 people, it's going to serve another 100 people in 100 years, because it's still going to be there saving lives, creating more lives. So hats off to you. You're doing a lot of great things at that
Thank you,
company
Phil.
of yours.
Thank you, Phil.
Um, we are coming up to the end. I do want to ask you maybe one or two more questions here. Um, I was reading the questionnaire, and it's always fun because I love reading books. And you brought up fanatical prospecting
Yeah.
as your book. Tell me about it. Why is that your favorite, or a book you recommend entrepreneurs to read?
Yeah, well, as we discussed before, it's all about sales, right? So no matter what the industry you're in, you have to sell, right? And even if you go to cinema with your wife, you still have a sales to do. She want to watch this movie, you want to watch that movie, you're gonna win the sell. And Grant Cardone said something: it's sell or be sold, right? Either you sell or you're being sold. And to do selling, you also need to do prospecting. You need to fill that pipeline. It's not all about closing. You also have to bring the leads. Fanatical Prospecting is a book written by Jeb Blount. Jeb Blount is a sell author. He's doing conferences as well. And he's not a guru, right? He's not a sales guru like Grant Cardone or other people. He's actually very down to earth with very actionable items written in his book. So Fanatical Prospecting for me was a life changer. It's great tips to enhance your sales game. It's about prospecting at every moment, on every channel, at every step of your journey. And because of that, it's a must read for every salespeople in my teams. And I say teams because I have multiple companies. They all have to read that. For the Philadelphia office, when they read that book, we increased the sales of 30% within the 2 first months. not because of the book. It's a change of mindset. It's just a mind opener, right? I can give a great advice regarding prospecting to our auditors as well. Um, Entrepreneurs tend to stop prospecting when they're very, very busy. But sales cycle can be, depending on the industry, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, many years. So business is like a roller coaster. So you need to do constant prospecting to ensure your company constant sales and leads flow. It's very, very important. So always prospect and start with that book. It's absolutely fantastic. You can read 2 chapters and start applying the tips within your day.
That's fantastic. The fact that within 2 months, already your Philadelphia office increased their sales after reading that's impressive. If that doesn't show you how great this book is, it I don't know what will, but it's definitely now on my list here on Amazon to be ordered in. So I'm going to jump off, Marc. I want to give you the last little bit. Let my audience know where they can find out about your company if they want to hire you, or just to follow along your journey to the fact that you're going to become the best in the world. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. So please follow us on nixa.ca. We are on all social medias, but we just launched this free private community called Nixa Life. You can access it at nixa.life. It's an open community for all the tech enthusiasts out there. Our engineers, our developers are sharing tips, discussing about technologies. I think it's the best way to come and basically be part of the Nixa family.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marc. Of course, to the audience listening at home, the show notes will have all the links so that you guys can connect with Nixa and join Nixa Life. Marc, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to chat with us here and share your story with my audience.
Thank you, Phil. You have a good one.
Excellent. Everybody else, thank you so much again for listening. And remember always to invest in yourself.